Hello, leavers and believers. Welcome to Leaving Hillsong. If you're a regular, welcome back, and if you're new here, this is a really great time to jump in. My name's Tanya, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to the third part of Outta the Woods with Craig and Sam Wood. There's a lot of Woods floating around Hillsong. I don't know who they're related to. I think they're just related to themselves. The feedback has been unanimous. This interview's been so well received, and I really thought you guys would like it, and you do. There's just been so many topics and so many questions that have been touched upon. So part 3 is just as good. You know how like sequels aren't so good? All 3 are just fantastic. These guys have just been so honest and so generous with their hearts, basically. So thank you so much to Craig and Sam. If you haven't had the chance to listen to parts 1 and 2, I recommend you do. But even so, Craig and Sam Wood were pastors for Hillsong from 1999 to 2007 when it all kind of ended abruptly. And the 3 questions everyone kind of gets put through on this show is, how did you get to Hillsong? What made you leave? Well, we found that out. And what's life been like since? And this is a really cool chat. Hope you get a lot out of the woods. Part 3.
Life since then, guys. What would you say? What's life been like since? Since the old leaving?
I think the journey that we were actually talking about the other day, I think it was more just feeling empowered as a human being. Just going, oh, wow, okay, I can now be creative, and all these things that now it's up to me, listening to me, trusting me, without even realizing, because I, joined a youth group so young. I was saying to Craig, at 17, I was told that, and it's not like I'm not having a go at these people, because I was very complicit in what, the expectations were. No nightclubs. No, listening to worldly music, and you can't wear a bikini to the beach, and Craig couldn't visit me if nobody was home. All these, rules and regulations that I just, okay, no worries. I trust you because you're a Christian. You're supposed to be a good person. Yeah, no worries. That's going to make me a better person, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so now you're kind of out of that. Now it's like, oh, I can actually trust me. Whether I make the right decision or the wrong decision, it's entirely up to me now. And taking that power back, that was the biggest thing for me.
That's exciting, isn't it? That's exciting. Yeah. And thinking and doing and and failing and not knowing and trying again. And
it's like
For me, it's just having confidence in my story, is confidence in my relationship with God. So, people go to me sometimes, do you still believe in God? And I think that's a stupid question. I go, believing is for people that don't know God. I know God, so I don't need to believe. Do you know what I mean? I don't need to believe. So there's a lot of believers out there that believe in God, but I don't know if they know God. So I don't need to believe. And my journey now it's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Sam, I've just said I think they're offensive questions, but since we're on the topic, kind of where are you at?
Yeah, with my faith and things. Yeah, definitely have a deeper faith. Definitely. But can I say that I could not go near the Bible for many years after. It just, you know, I've got a girlfriend who lives in another state, and we go through, talk about this as well. And, you know, we just go, yeah, it just repulsed me for a while, got to say, like, because it was so I just felt it was so taken out of context and skew-iffed. And even I did it. I stood on a stage and took scriptures I wanted to preach and made a story out of that without even really understanding and telling people how to live. And it's like, it's so out of context. It's so wrong.
So it's not even necessarily the Bible, but the way that it's been exploited to people that then kind of makes you want to...
narrative of an institution, really.
Well,
people find that, right.
Well, we talk about authority in Scripture, right? But really, the authority of the Bible is based on who you give the interpretation of it to. You with me? So if you're going to explain any kind of text to me, Bible or whatever, then I'm basically believing your spin. Like the Bible is, to me, I love it. I didn't read it for many, many, many years, and I still probably don't read it that much these days. I read other spiritual writings and stuff, but I find it fascinating. But I was like Sam, I just couldn't, because you'd go back to it and you'd go, oh, you'd be locked into that spin straight away. And that's why I went and dug deep into the roots. Like the rabbis would say, the scriptures have like about 150 different interpretations. Do you know what I mean? So I'm a bit broader read than most people. So when people want to talk to me about the Bible, I don't go there a lot, because it's just so frustrating. I'll quote a scripture, I'm going, you don't even know what you're talking about. Like, it's just too hard.
My learned colleague from another account, the Framework, has been telling me that there's a evangelical industrial complex. This is just a bit of by the way. And I mean, it had never crossed my mind. So Jesus didn't want converts, he wanted disciples. And then when you like go to one of these places, you end up converting like to Brian, not to, do you know what I mean? Or to his ideologies kind of thing more. So yeah, it's quite a fascinating different system. I'm knowing.
It's true. There's a lot of little Brians running around. I met God not through the Bible. I was on a park bench.
That's interesting. Okay. What happens on the park bench? Like, just
sorry?
I don't know. I was wondering what happens on the park bench. Or was it just an out of the blue thing?
I was in a park. I was at uni. I went to a park. I was sitting on a bench, and I basically was just a little prayer. Like, I was just going, I didn't even know how to pray, but I knew that you prayed. So I just talked to God as if he was there, and I just said, God, I can't even remember what I was saying and why I was even saying it, but I just had this arm come around me. Like, I didn't see it. I felt it. And this sensation. I mean, other people might have had other stuff, and I'm not like that. I'm not one of those people that has been touchy feeling all through my Christianity. Someone prayed for me. I never went down on the ground and fell, all that kind of stuff. I prayed for lots and they did it, but it never happened to me.
Why do you think that is? I never fell over. I was as wet behind the ears and green and keen as the next person, and so I figured I was, do you know what I mean, like a fail straight away, because everyone's lying down and you're there going like try again or something like that. Well,
yeah, I know people that have, and I've spoken to them about it, and it was amazing. It was this and it was that, but once again, just because it happened to them doesn't mean it has to happen to me. I'm wired differently. And I never ever, I used to say to people, maybe that's what you needed. I don't need that, because I know God. I don't need all the fluff. Man, I'm not saying I'm right here. I'm just saying well, I'm good. Like, I'm good with God.
And to be able to do that to people must be next level. Yeah.
It actually happened to me. I was lecturing somewhere, and I was talking about the Holy Spirit, and before long, the whole lecture room was on the ground. I'm the only one standing there. And then I went and spoke at a youth camp up in Queensland. There was like 300 kids in the room. And mate, what was going on? And I'm the one orchestrating it, I guess, but I wasn't, because I'm looking at it going, I don't even know what's going on here. and so it was bizarre. It's bizarre, that whole stuff. But then I'm curious. So I'd talk to people, go, so tell me what happened? What was going on? Why are you on the ground screaming? Or why are you on the ground laughing? Or what was going on? And for them, they were very real experiences. I was always curious about it. But I'd always believe, and this is what people have to be careful of. All those things they don't validate the system. Do you know what I mean? You might eat something from McDonald's and a gherkin by itself is really healthy. It's great, even though there's a lot of them on the walls and that. I'm just using it, or the lettuce or the tomato, whatever. But that doesn't mean that McDonald's is good for you. You can't, you know what I mean? Or it doesn't, just because you have a positive experience inside a system doesn't make the system valid, right? And I think that's important because, I met my wife there, but does it make, that means it must have been God, you know what I mean?
That's what some people will say. They'll say, look, things might have gone bad, but at least there were, all these people that met God there. So it was worth it. And then there's actually that verse, one of the pastors brought it up to me actually a while ago. That says, I don't care how the gospel is preached or something. You know that one that says, I don't care if it's preached with this as long as it's getting preached.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry,
I'll use guile if I have to. Yeah. In other words, I'll do whatever it takes to get.
That's always fascinated me though, because I've said this to you often. I look at like your Jimmy Swaggart, your Pat Setti, all these people that people still have real encounters. They would say they have real encounters under their ministries and stuff, and I go, flipping heck, these guys are
but
loopy.
But what is the gospel? Like, it's assuming the gospel is, but to me, the gospel, how I understand the gospel now, is the gospel is taking care of the sick, healing the brokenhearted, setting at liberty those that are oppressed, and many times Christ, when he talked about it, he goes, go and heal people, go and do all those things. Like, the gospel isn't, to me, it's not a message to believe. I remember reading a rabbi saying this once. He said, he tells a story about some angels, and God's just sort of shaking his head at the earth, and the angel says, well, what's going on, God? Why are you a bit frustrated? And he goes, I wish that people would forget about me and remember my ways, but rather they forget about my ways and remember me. So we almost set God as this idol, and worship as this fix that we need, and feelings are real. So you can go to a concert and get any feeling, right? So, and you can build on that. I'll be honest, I used to just despise worship. I thought, when I ran one of my churches, I said, we're not going to worship for a few weeks. It's just like we're addicted to it. It's not right. Do you know what I mean? And God doesn't really need it. I don't think he gives two hoots about it.
Well, where is all of this in the Bible? Where is all of this emphasis on church in the Bible as well? Like, I thought it was a kind of a supportive thing, not a central thing. I'll just grab this verse just to kind of, make sense. Philippians 1:15 to 18. It is true that some preach Christ out of envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do so out of love, knowing that I am here for the defense of the gospel. The former preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, supposing that they can stir up trouble for me while I'm in chains. But what does that matter? The important thing is that in every way, whether from false motives or true, Christ is preached. And because of this, I rejoice. What do you do with that one, Pastor Craig?
But once again, when he's talking about the Christ, he's not talking of Jesus. Jesus was a manifestation of the Christ. The Christ is this the cosmic Christ, some people like to use. So the Christ has been there from the beginning of time, and Jesus embodied the Christ, right? So, and what did Jesus do? He was anointed, went around doing good works. We're saved by faith, not by saved by grace, not by, I can't even remember the scripture now.
Not by good works.
but let your good works be a light. It's about manifesting the Christ, loving people, loving yourself, looking after for those people that can't look after themselves. I mean, there's plenty of those people around my life. You go into developing countries, you know what I mean? It's not hard to see. Like you asked the question, where is this? How do we validate? Where is it in the scripture? It's there. The Pharisees did it all. They were the ones that made people wanted to come to this and to that. Jesus didn't fit into that. And that's why they crucified him, because he was messing up their system. They financially, you know, back in those days, the rich were getting richer, the poor were getting poorer, and the Pharisees were on the top end of that. Do you know what I mean? They were having their green rooms and flying around and dressing up nicely. And Jesus going, I don't want anything to do with it. This isn't right. They were oppressing people, the women. You know, a lot of Jesus went around, and anything to do with class structures and injustice structures. Jesus, people don't see it in scriptures because they taught to understand it differently. He's slamming it. Like I mean, the fact that the very first person that witnessed that Jesus rose from the dead was a woman is unheard of back in those days. Like a woman couldn't even testify in court. So for Jesus to use that in the Gospels, that a woman, it's just smashing. Do you know what I mean? The idea of setting another person above another, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
the egalitarian stuff keeps coming up as a theme, and it's incredible, isn't it? It's like, I remember when I started doing a little bit of research, because I'd kind of been away from church, and then the Frank stuff happened, so I stopped blaming myself, because I was like, who are you, Brian? When I went to start, okay, right, I better actually focus this book thing. What am I going to do? I better go and look at the Bible a lot closer. Open Matthew, you know, you get to chapter 10 and go, they break it like they're breaking every rule. It's you know, don't pray in public. Don't make a big deal out of giving money. Like all of this, like just so eventually it does seem to be about values. Your values just can't take it anymore.
I was just going to encourage some of your listeners that are going through that Leaving Hillsong. You know, it's okay. Not if you don't want to read the Bible, it's okay. God's not up there thinking that you're not spiritual anymore. It's okay that you don't want to go to a church. It's completely okay. Just know that you're deeply loved by God, and you hang on to that. You might not want to talk to God, but God still loves you. And I don't focus on how much I love God, because it's hard. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? But I focus on the fact that God relentlessly loves me and believes in me. We often talk about, you've got to believe in God, got to believe in God. Well, know the fact that God believes in you, and you're special and unique, and that's enough. And all that you need, you already have. The journey is just unwrapping to get it, like to understand it, to take the blanket off. And that's my journey since I left. It's realizing that the life that I want is not in a new
going
house
to another level
or going to the next level or being on the cutting edge. I've got all the peace, the joy, everything I have. It's just learning to understand that I already have it. And that's not just a Christian thought. That is, if you look into spirituality and all the different faiths around the world, it's the same. It comes back to the same message. You are more than enough.
Yeah, and the gratitude stuff. And I mean, we are the richest people in the world, in this country anyway. So, Sam, what do you want to let people know?
Yeah, I think it was just, you know, like we touched on before, just believing in you, believing in that. Yeah, like Craig said, everything is new.
How do you do that? I mean, I went through it, you've been through it, everybody's different, but like, how do you actually know then? Because you remember that stuff as well. I'm just thinking now, we go, okay, how do I make a decision? Right, pray about it. Now I need a confirmation. Right, is that the confirmation? Is that the confirmation?
Yeah, no. No, most of the time I don't even pray about it. I just look, and I suppose it's more of what we
You
value.
got to back yourself.
Yeah.
Just learn to back yourself.
And yeah, am I going to make mistakes? Yeah, I am. And that's okay, because that's where you learn. That's, that makes you who you are. Are you going to say the wrong thing or offend people? Well, yeah, I am, because I was one that always didn't like to offend. And I don't know whether that's age as well. The older I get, the crankier I get, I think. But, it's like, I don't have time for this anymore. I don't have time, if I have to cut that off, I have to. Sorry, but, you're too needy. Okay, we'll see you later. And you're taught to just always die to yourself. Don't be selfish. Don't do this. It's like, well, you know what? You are entitled to a really good life.
You got to love yourself.
Yeah.
As much as
That's
the
the
next
start.
person anyway, right? Like,
Yeah. And I know that kind of goes again, because you've got to die to yourself. We've always taught and all this kind of stuff. But it's just out of context again. It's like, yeah.
well, because it's interesting. I didn't know there's fight and flight. And if there's no option to do either, there's freeze. People freeze. But the other one I didn't know is fawn, where, you just roll over and say, however can I please you? Is
I've heard of that one, yeah.
A stress response. Well, it may well be a survival response if you can't. How to, even be allowed to. It's impossible to be that eternally giving person. And for women, I mean, the expectation is just this endless kind of Madonna, mother thing. That's the clear message I always saw. And Craig, I was wondering, men don't speak about this. Men don't speak about experiences. It's much less common to have a man kind of be able to talk about this. And I don't know if that's a thing about, I don't know, masculinity, but you get told you're the man and the father and the brother and the son of the. Is there anything kind of that flow through your head about that? Because I mean, the men do not speak. Their wives reach out, but they are not going there. They fine, thank you very much, and I've got nothing to say.
It's true. What you're saying is dead true, and I think true spirituality comes back to self-awareness. So a lot of people that might say that they're spiritual, but they're not self-aware, and I go, well, what's your spirituality about then? Like, seriously, is it just about believing in a whole lot of rituals, or is it really about being self-awareness is all about discovering your essence and all of your true self, not you've heard of the different egos, your false self, your true self, your shadow self. So it's all about diving into who you really are as a person. And to know, some of the narratives, as Sam mentioned, that you've built around who you think you are, and how those narratives actually cause a lot of depression and sadness and issues in your life that aren't really that resourceful for you to be fully human and fully alive. I mean, I started writing a book. I've got about 30,000 words in, but it was all about being fully human and waking up to yourself.
30,000 is a lot.
Sorry?
That's a good start. 30,000 is a lot.
But halfway through it, this was about 4 years ago, I thought, you know what, I'm still on this journey. Like, so.
Well, I mean, does it ever end?
Oh, you never arrive. You always.
Yeah.
I get that. I guess for me, I was still at that time leaving Hillsong at 5 or 7. Well, it might have been longer ago.
Yeah.
I've lost track of time, but I didn't want to hammer the church, because it's not my place to. I don't feel it's my place to do that. Like, it's not a resourceful system for me to be in, and that's how I classify things. It's not about right and wrong. What's resourceful for your life and what's unresourceful. So I go, well, that's not very resourceful. So so I guess I didn't pursue that book. I will one day.
Seriously, I think there's a massive problem from what I've seen in bits and pieces of in the States. Something like a third of pastors just want out and they're trapped. And
I still can't believe that there was quite a few, that pastors that burnt out, and I just don't understand that.
Well, it's not just what because I've got a lot of friends in the States, and they tell me about pastors, and I know pastors, and they know that it's not a resourceful thing for them to be in, but they lack the courage to make a decision to get out. And the very thing that they teach about faith and God will look after you, they can't believe for themselves. I would say to, if there's a pastor listening to this, dude, grow a pair and make the hard decisions. And you know it's right. You know it's the right thing to do. I mean, I'm happy to talk to guys that feel a bit trapped and they want to have a yarn. I'm happy to have a chat with some people. I've talked to lots of different pastors and stuff. But I would say to be courageous, and and it takes courage. It takes you to man up or woman up if you're a female, and to just, it's another adventure, and you're going to go through a lot when you do it, but it's good. It turns out good. Turns out good for you and good for those people around you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is so great. So, yeah, Sam, tell us all about, all that life out there.
For me, when we left, I said it really felt like a death. You know what I mean? So it was like you go through those, the grief and the anger. For a while, I just needed to try and justify ourselves. So I felt like, my ego kicked in. Oh, I want to explain to you why we left. And we're not the baddies. We're not this. We're not that. I heard things, they were saying about Craig. So it was like, I felt like I had to defend. And then you just kind of get to a point and go, just stop. Just stop and just be. And it's you ciphering out what is really important to you. That's what you have to do. You just have to go, well, what is important to me, to our family, to our life. Doesn't matter what anybody else is thinking or judging or whatever. This is my life, and I'm just going to live it the way I want to. So,
I mean, what kind of follow-up did you guys get once you had left? What kind of, did people contact, get in touch?
No.
I had as I said to you, I had a state superintendent or on the state team. I had two of them actually ring me and said that I need to get back in church.
I think I got a phone call from some Bible college students who were, I think Hillsong were raising them up to take something on. She rang me and just, change is hard, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Thanks. See you later.
And all those friends and family, welcome home. We're your family.
Yeah, it's welcome home when you go walk in the doors. It ain't when you leave. Yeah, but we understood. Yeah, like we touched on, we understood that was not a reality if people wanted to stay in that, because you don't have time. You literally do not have time.
I've got to say, to be fair, on Sam and I's journey through this, we had a good network of people that were going through the same thing at the same time. So one of our closest friends was an AOG pastor.
I was unaware of that though. Yeah,
in Hornsby.
Yeah.
How do you kind of ask those questions? Do you know what I mean? How does that?
I had people that had already, one of them had already made a decision to leave, and I had another couple of people that I could talk and be open and honest and not get judged about, and they weren't in Hillsong Church. Those people, some of them were in another church, some of them weren't involved with church anymore. So, but they were really good. They weren't judgmental. They just, and then when we kind of started helping people deconstruct their faith a bit, we had a community of people, and that was that thing that we started. So we had people around us that had the same kind of feelings, going through the same thing. I'd feel for someone that might be listening to this that they're all alone, they've got no one to talk to. That would be a bit different, but there's people out there.
Yeah.
There's heaps of podcasts out there.
So much has changed. Since I mean, if you're leaving in 2007, we only had a bit of Google, we didn't have a whole whole lot. What I like very much how you call it deconstruction, but you've still got this very strong faith. So deconstruction doesn't necessarily mean burn the house down.
Of an institution and a system we deconstructed from.
and also a spin of the Bible.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop there. Then you have to reconstruct.
Yeah.
Some people get all deconstructive, and we allowed people to be share their hurt. If they were negative, let them be negative. That was a feeling that they had. So
sit with it.
We didn't judge anything. Yeah. And so that's why all of a sudden a lot of people started joining this thing. We even put a conference on, and we had like 130 people turn up to it. Some of them were Hillsong students at the time.
Wow. Okay, like a general deconstruction conference kind of group.
Well, it wasn't called deconstruction, but I got up and spoke at it and just shared something. People publicly about my thing. This is going back, 15 years ago now. I can't even remember, but yeah, you definitely need a space where you can talk to someone and let it all hang out, and that person not judge you for that, even though what you might be saying. You go, it's okay, because it's okay for what you're saying. And you might not think that in 10 years' time, but it's how you are now. Yeah. And I think it's really important to have a community or someone, or go to see a counsellor or a psychologist and talk about it, because you don't want to hang on to it. At some point, you've got to release it and let go.
Seems to affect everybody differently, individually. So you can't kind of prescribe a solution to every person either as well.
Yeah. Sometimes you've got to, when you say just sit with things, and maybe the grief I sat with longer than I sat with the anger, or do you know what I mean? It was just like, and I probably came across really cynical and negative and hated the world and whatever, but that's just the journey. That's just, okay, I'll sit with this for a while. Well, that's not helpful. Now I've got to do some more digging,
Having anger, being allowed to be angry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or forgiveness. I mean, forgiveness, as we all know, it's not like I should forgive and you have to forgive and do it now. Otherwise, you're going to be a messed up unit. No. Forgiveness might take 5 years, and that's okay. Forgiveness is not an event. It's a process. It's a journey. And some people you're okay to stay away from. You can say, well, I know I have to love this person eventually, but it might take me 20 years, and that's okay. Wow.
Yeah. That's a huge one, the forgiveness one.
And I was teaching on all that stuff back in the day, and that's why it didn't fit, because I'd say stuff like, that, and people loved it though. My community loved it, the stuff we used to teach, but I knew that it didn't really fit, and it didn't. I didn't fit in.
They depend on that forgiveness thing to just get away with whatever they want, because you're the one that needs to forgive. It's a really, really tricky system.
I'll put it out there for people, if they, as I said to you before, if you wanted to do something else, or a bit of a forum or something where people might benefit by asking me questions that I haven't answered, happy to do so if it can help people.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes.
It is amazing out there. Like, our life is awesome.
Amazing.
You know what I mean? Like, just to wake up on a Sunday morning and go, yes, it's our morning. You don't have to.
Yeah.
And if you want to be part of a church or whatever, be part of one.
Yeah. Don't feel that you have to die to part of yourself for, because I think that's another thing too. We said no to so many family events and so many events because church is on, or this is on, or that's on, or can't do that. So I just think, just listen to yourself. Just empowerment.
Yeah, beautiful. It is. And then you get to read things that you weren't allowed to, and think things that you weren't allowed to, and
I just felt guilty listening, because I love music. I love 80s music. Love it. And I just felt so guilty as a teenager.
Yeah, I was that one.
I could only listen to Christian tapes, and I look back at that and think, stupid. But
it's a rational response to an irrational environment.
Yeah.
do what you're doing, and you are putting trust in people that get up on stage and say they're from God. So how are you supposed to know?
And I thought it was going to be beneficial to me, and this is what has to happen.
It's people that can't see God in everything. So that's why you have this dualistic kind of thing. God's here, but he's not here, which is total crap. Like, God is the ocean, we are a wave. Like, geez.
That's where we're at.
Christ streams through everything. Now, Phil Collins, he might not sing about Jesus, might not even mention Jesus in his life, but he's got the Christ flowing through him. Like, his music, it all comes from the same power cable. Do you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Okay, I thought like maybe something about Phil Collins we didn't know in terms of. Thank you so very much, guys. We will talk again soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
See ya.
Awesome, Craig and Sam. Thank you again. Do you like how I just throw in my theology just wherever I like? Do you know what I mean? Because I get all mixed up between 80s songs and Bible verses. And on a serious note, we will organise that forum. If you guys are keen, let me know, and I will contact Craig and find out what he wants to do, and you let me know. Such kind people. That was a 2-hour conversation. Thought it was worth every minute. I hope you enjoyed it too. That's us for this weekend. Please continue to send your feedback, requests, anecdotes, stories, jokes, whatever. Please let us know what you'd like more of and what you need less of. Got some really interesting directions we're going in. A lot in the bank. Just got to sort out a few technical issues and things should speed up. Thanks so much for your time and downloads and listens to this little pod. It means so much to me that people are on board with all this. Do share it with someone who might find it useful. I think, there's just so much in that conversation. I'm sure there's 3 people you can think of that are like, yeah, they should hear this. So do it. Keep being kind to yourself. Keep being kind to people around you, and I hope you got a bunch more ways now to keep leaving Hillsong. We'll talk soon. Bye.